Welcome to Samut Sari, Conversations with Mimi, a weekly podcast by Social, also a member of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Samut Sari is where we can show that ordinary people do extraordinary things. Tune in to be entertained and to learn something new with your host, Mimi Lorilla.
Hello and welcome to Samut Sari, Conversations with Mimi. This is your host, Mimi Lorilla, and you are in a podcast featuring hot topics and other topics of interest for men and women alike. We also feature guests who share their passion and commitment to their profession or talents. And here at Samut Sari, we share stories to inspire you, stories from ordinary people who make extraordinary things. And in today's episode, we have a comeback guest, which I promised that she's going to be back. And she's going to be something like semi-regular, depending on her availability. So I'd like to welcome into today's show Miss Ana De Guzman. Hi, Ana, and welcome back.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi Mimi, thanks for having me back. As always, it's a pleasure, and I always look forward to our next episode. And I believe that today's episode will be a very interesting one because it's something that everyone can relate to.
Yes, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the subject of Hugot. So Ana and I decided that we will talk about Hugot, and maybe Hugot is not familiar with a lot of people. So we'll try to unpack Hugot today. We'll try to talk about situations where there is this concept of Hugot, when and where it happens. And maybe we'll talk about the psychology of Hugot. Why are we Filipinos so entrenched in this Hugot? So maybe, Ana, in your own layman's language, what for you is Hugot?
Well, if I will try to dissect hugot, of course it's a verb. No, I think it's a sentiment that is rooted from a certain emotion based on experience, maybe good, maybe bad.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's so straightforward. but if we look at the etymology or the origins of Hugot, I think Hugot literally means to pull
Yes,
or extract from something. Yeah. But the meaning has kind of morphed into some other, I don't know, some other place. I mean, it went from the literal meaning to pull. And now it's, as you said, associated with emotions, associated with an experience, which I want us to talk about. So what in your opinion is the context of Hugot? Where is this coming from? And when do people experience Hugot?
You know what? I believe hugot is something that, I was telling you a while ago, aren't we too old for hugot? But then, come to think about it, hugot is something that we experience also as young people, right? We call them by another name, if I'm not mistaken. Back then, I think we call them meta message, metaphors, etc., right?
Yes.
I think we say this as a means of, saying something indirectly with a pinch of humor, right? With some underpinnings of humor. But then, you know how we Filipinos are. We cannot feel, but we cannot be direct with what we are saying, especially if it's something that has too much emotional attachment, or we feel might offend another person, right? So we do the indirect route of trying to express ourselves. So in this way, hugot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here, as far as I know, hugot is a sentiment of somebody who was broken hearted, and he tries, right, through lines which mirror such emotions, but in a humoristic way. Example could be, buti pa pamasahe may sukle, pero ako sobra binigay ko, pero wala akong nakuha pabalik. Parang ganon, di ba?
I can't help but laugh at that. I didn't mean to be, what do you call that, insensitive to the situation of the person.
Laughed. I'm happy you laughed.
Because, that
it means it hits a chord.
Yes, it hits a chord. You're right. So when a person utters those lines, those hugot lines, it probably means, as you said, there are layers of the messages there, right?
Yes.
So something
Yes,
that could be
yes, yes.
literal, something that could allude to something else, something that borders
Yes,
along
yes.
the irony of it all. So it's a very
Mm.
interesting. It, because we are language teachers, we have a language teaching background. It's a very interesting area of
Yes.
study if you want
Mm.
to dissect it,
Mm.
like you said, to dissect it even further. But let's
Yes,
not go
yes.
to the linguistic aspect for now. I want to talk
Although
about.
that's another interesting topic, huh?
I know, I know. So I think I want to talk about the influence of media. That's why we probably have those who got. Do you believe or do you agree that Filipinos that love telenovelas, that love dramas, that love the underdog mentality is what makes Hugot Lines very appealing to us, and therefore we become creative with it? Don't you think that we are so influenced by the media in our lives that we over romanticize everything?
Well, you know how Filipinos are, Mimi. We are overly romantic, diba? Even in times of like trouble or like the pandemic we're having right now, we still are able to romanticize things.
Mm,
So, especially with our exposure to media like movies, like Netflix, social media, and all that, we have come up, or we have been rather influenced by what we watch on telenovelas,
yeah.
movies, right? And this is where we get the hugot lines from. As a matter of fact, I read in an article somewhere, and I believe I shared this with you, that a lot of the hugot lines we had before, or which were the original ones, came from lines from movies, right?
Yes, lines from
uh,
movies. That's right.
Yes, yes. So I believe we are influenced a lot by what we watch on TV, on in movies, right? In social media, in what we read,
Yeah.
right? If you still Do you still read novels? I remember, I remember having an entire bookshelf of novels, and I would remember my favorite lines really well. So I guess Hugot is an influence from various forms of media, especially now, like movies
Mm-hmm.
and social media.
Mm-hmm. I would like to read one who got that I researched online. It's from the
Wow.
movie of John Lloyd Cruz
Oh my gosh.
because he is the king of
I'm a
drama. So
Hugot.
according to this Hugot line from one of John Lloyd's
Uh-huh.
movies, he and I quote. This is a quote. She loved me
Okay.
at my worst.
Oh my
You had
gosh.
me at my best. But binaliwala mo lang ang lahat and you chose to break my heart. Kasi sa totoo
Oh my
lang,
god.
umaasa pa rin ako na sana ako pa rin, na ako na lang ulit. So I think this is from a movie by John Lloyd and Bea Alonzo. You know,
Yeah, yeah. Bea
I've
Alonso,
watched
right?
some of
Right.
their movies, even John Lloyd and Sarah Geronimo. I watched that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think the appeal is universal. It doesn't matter what age we are, as long as we, listen to those lines and we remember those lines. That means it really resonates a lot to us, don't you think?
Oh yes. Yes. And from the term hugot itself, I'm sure we were already married by the time we saw that John Lloyd Bea Alonso movie, right? But
Mm,
still, when we heard those lines, it resonates, right, on our end, because we simply have, experienced similar situations. It may not be directly our own personal experience. Maybe it's our friend's personal experience. So parang it triggers a similar emotion or a familiar emotion. Like, oh, no, I remember that. Kaya you have that kilig or feels moment.
mm-hmm.
Kaya nakakatuwa yung hugot. Kasi it triggers emotions which you may rarely experience, or it's fun to go back to that certain emotion that you felt a long time ago. On our end, I'm
That's
talking
right.
about our end. Okay.
What about who got in within a song? Have you listened to any songs that really clearly cry out some
Yes.
hugot lines?
Oh my gosh. Where do I begin? For example, the company. I'm sure you
Ah,
know the company.
yes,
Our
the
Pinoy
company.
listeners are familiar with the company, right? Yung pakisabi na lang na mahal ko siya,
Yes.
di na bali. Parang, Diyos ko, forever martyr, forever the friend, never the girlfriend.
Yes, I've known you for so long. You are a
Remember?
friend of
Yes, you know
mine.
my story. Oh my gosh, you're bringing out my 20-year-old self.
Oh, di ba? So I think it's really good for us to talk about this. I think Hugot does not only encompass the heartache, heartbreak, love angle of that. Maybe Hugot can also mean sacrifice. For example, when a lot of Filipinos go to, I don't know, maybe Dubai or Hong Kong, become an OFW anywhere all over the world, and then they choose to leave their families behind in search for better life, in search for a better future. The Hugot lines are really about sacrifice and about
Yes,
the
family.
longing for the family, but they couldn't do it because they have to look after other people and not their own family. So what can you say about situations where Hugot is really deeply rooted in family values?
I guess Hugot is really stemming from various emotions. It's not just it's not just linked, or it cannot be linked to just romantic feelings or emotions. As a matter of fact, a lot of Hugot lines have now evolved from movie lines, famous lines from songs, to everyday emotions that we experience as parents, as OFWs. Ano ba yung pwede nating isipin for OFWs? Example is, akala nila ang pera napupulot lang sa puno. Ang hindi nila alam, ang pera pinagpapawisan at pinaghihirapan ko ng husto, pero kung gastusin nila, akala mo bumubunga lang sa puno, 'di ba?
That's
Parang
right.
gano'n.
Like money doesn't really grow on trees, no?
It doesn't really grow on trees, right? But these are sentiments that that are echoed by various Hugot lines. There's even one that is from the movie General Luna. Have you seen that movie?
No, I think I have, but you can jog my memory in terms of the Hugot lines.
And there was a scene there where Epi Kison, I think he was Apolinario Mabini. Was he Apolinario? I can't
Ah,
recall, ha,
yes,
but
yes, yes, yes. Apolinario
okay, he
Mabini.
was Apolinario Mabini. He was asked by somebody, how do you deal with the temper of General Luna? Because that character General Luna is somebody who's very hot-tempered,
Yes.
authoritative, etc. And what I remember Epi saying is, um, naghabol ka na ba sa hangin? So
Oh,
have you
that's too
chased
deep.
after the wind? Right. So it's an answer to a question, right? It's actually a question. It's meant to be an answer to another question. So how do you deal with General Luna's temper? And he said, nakapaghabol ka na ba ng hangin? So it's like saying it's a futile effort. Because
Mm,
he's going to be like that. He's never gonna change. I cannot do
mm,
anything about him, right? So
yeah.
those are Hugot lines as well. So
So
metaphors.
yes. So what do you think? If you are not a Filipino, will you get these Hugot lines? Or is it really just unique to us and the way we express ourselves? We immediately get it. For a non-Filipino, they might not. They might struggle a little bit, and it will take you triple or quadruple the effort to explain what it is. What's your take on that?
I think with Westerners or with Western culture, since they're more direct, I think they will have a harder time, trying to decipher the message behind a hugot line. Yeah, I'm sure there's another term for hugot line in Western culture, right? Maybe memes or what, but since their culture is more direct, I think, and we Asians are more indirect with our emotions or feelings, I think Asians have an easier understanding of Hugot Lines than
Yes,
our
I think
Western
so.
counterparts.
They need to stay in the Philippines and be
Oh
indoctrinated in
yes.
the way we do this in order for them to
Oh
understand.
yes. I
Mm.
mean, you live in Australia. I'm sure you understand and you know what I mean. If you were to say something which is a meta message, which is a means of, I mean, euphemism. I believe it's called a euphemism, right?
Euphemism, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. It can be
yeah, and
considered as a euphemism. Yeah.
yes, so it's indirect way or polite way of being rude. Actually,
Yes.
I think yes,
And you know
to a
what?
certain degree.
I
Mm-hmm.
was searching online again and I found this
Uh huh.
blog
Uh huh.
about Hugot Lines in a financial
Oh,
scenario.
really?
So it's not
Oh,
just the love
interesting.
angle, like I said. For example, binigay ko na ang lahat pero kulang pa rin. It's the way you give
Oh
it your all
yeah,
to save your
yeah.
money, to eliminate the debt
Mm,
you have, and you've given it all,
yeah,
but it's still not enough. I really find that
it's true.
so
It's
good and
true.
funny.
It's
And then
true.
this one, I had you, then I lost you, and I'll never forgive yourself. So if you deprive yourself of cash or you lost your money, so that is another, kind of like a deep rooted regret. And then
Mhm.
there is another one here. I remember that night and I'll regret it for the rest of my days. Probably when you purchased something high ticket item and
Right,
you
right,
realize
right.
the next day you don't really need it and you just spend your
You
money.
tend to regret,
So
right?
yeah, so it's too late. So really the Hugot lines, you can invent your own Hugot line and you can
And there's a
obviously,
lot.
yeah, you can obviously apply
Mm,
that in any context or scenario. And that's
yeah.
the beauty of our language, that we can be very creative and very colorful in the way we use our language. Don't you think so?
Yes, yes, yes. And it's a very creative way of expressing oneself indirectly, right? Or expressing one's emotion in a way that would come out to be with a sense of humor and as an underpinning or, as something that would come out funny when in fact it has deep and very painful,
Mm-hmm.
emotional pain behind it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very creative way of expressing oneself, really. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
imagine you have cited hugot from an economic basis, from movies. So there can be a lot, right? There can be a lot of origins for hugot lines actually.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this other one. Uh, buti pa ang math major, parati na lang naghahanap ng X, value ng X.
Oh my God.
Right?
And mind you, even on Facebook, there are also groups dedicated to exploring what these hugot lines are. But
Oh,
this is not
really?
this is not just
Mm-hmm.
hugot per se, but there's a Facebook group on people who have loved and lost. So the people who are probably divorced or annulled, but these are Filipino Facebook groups or
Oh,
people who
really?
are
That's
just simply
interesting.
separated from their previous partners. And I bet you that these groups, because they're looking for love, obviously, they're looking for companionship. They're looking for somebody to take them on board as they are and looking to
Yeah.
start anew. I'm pretty sure 100% that Facebook group is flooded with lots of those hugot lines, and then you just pick and choose the one that can relate to you, and probably
Yes,
that's how you will
yes.
make connections. You will make
Yes,
connections
and
with other people.
it's yes, and it's a creative way of, as I've said, sharing one's emotion and also having this sense of camaraderie and belongingness to a certain group of people who may have experienced something similar to what you have experienced, maybe love life wise or financially speaking, or in terms of your experience with family, right? So
Mm.
I think I'll visit that Facebook group page. I have I haven't encountered that Facebook group,
Okay,
Mimi. So I think I'll
if you have enough time and you have the energy, you cannot sleep at night. Yes, I encourage you to check out those groups.
I will. I will.
I bet you, because I've seen it in one TV show where they introduced that group. So I really was also
Oh,
so pleasantly surprised that such groups exist. So you would, it's like
that would.
Tinder, but not Tinder.
Oh, I think that would be an interesting avenue to explore. Although I'm not divorced or separated. Thank God we're not. But then it's interesting to know what expressions do they have on their end in terms of Hugot Lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
So
think I.
let's do a little bit of
Yes.
predicting. So
Okay.
what do
Okay.
you think? What do you think is the future of Hugot? What do you think is the pathway to this social or sociological ideology, if we want to call it like that, or a very widely spread pop culture kind of thinking?
I think Hugot will always be there, Mimi. For as long as we want to express ourselves in a creative way, in an indirect manner, in a way that will find humor in a hurtful experience. It will always be there. I think maybe we can call it by another name because I remember back then during our time we used to call it meta message. Do you remember? We used to call it meta message. And men would always be wondering, what does she mean when she's saying that?
Yeah.
They could not even figure it out.
So
Like
is
if my
a yes, or a yes a no, or a
yes,
yes a maybe?
precisely.
Mm.
Precisely. So like when I prepare myself an hour before I go out on a date with my husband and I'm expecting him to say, "Wow, you look ravishing," and he just says, "Let's go," and I say, "Okay," and then all of a sudden I'm not really talking to him, and he's wondering what happened.
Yeah.
I think everything's okay because he said okay, and then I lost her from there. Right?
Exactly.
I mean,
We need to write a book about that.
I
It's like
guess.
it's no longer the men are from Mars, women are from Venus book.
Yes.
Probably like I don't know which planets are we going to use to to
Hugot
write
ni
that book.
Eva. Hugot ni Eva. Guess ni Adan.
Oh, di ba? Why not?
Yeah,
That
something to
could be
that
my next book
effect,
project.
right?
That could be my next
Oh,
book
that
project,
would be very interesting, right?
and I can co-author that with you any day.
Oh, yes.
I'm more than
Men
happy to
need
do that.
that in their lives. Men need that in their lives. Men, when women say okay, it means to say you're in big trouble.
That is really a good study, and now you've given me an idea, and I probably will really pursue that. Maybe after the situation with COVID-19
Yeah,
becomes
yeah.
better, so we don't have to worry about the new normal. Once it has been semi-defined, and we can adapt our movements, our professional and
Yeah.
personal movements, then we can obviously have a serious talk or conversation about this potential project.
Yeah, I think one way we could do this, just to give you an idea of how we could go about it, is like we could say, when a woman says this, what is your interpretation? So, but it's open ended. You don't let them choose, right? So we come
Yes.
up with themes for their interpretation. And that would be a very good book. I think that would be a bestseller.
Oh,
Let's
di
go
ba?
for it.
Let's claim it. Let's claim it, and
Yes, it's in the bag. It's in the
yes,
bag.
and we can also do a proper study, like get people's opinions and
Yes, yes,
incorporate
yes.
that into the book. So it's not
Yes,
just our
yes.
opinions, but it's a factual. It has a factual
Yes.
basis as well, and it's going to be exciting.
Yes.
And since you are teaching, we can use some of your students to do a small study for
Oh, of
gather
course.
the
Of
data for
course.
us, and all we
Mhm.
need to do is put it together. I think that will
Yes,
be a
I'm sure
very
that would be very
interesting.
feasible.
Yeah. So we'll have a Who Got theme book there coming. I'm so excited already, and I couldn't
Oh,
believe that
same here,
talking
huh?
about that
It-
already gives us a
That's
future to do,
enormous
a future project to
ideas,
do.
right?
Yeah. So Anna, I think if you don't have anything else to add to Hugot, what is your key takeaway, or what is key advice, or what is one thing about Hugot that you would like to impart to our audience?
One time I was wanting to write this in Facebook. Like, if I could say something to my younger self, what would it be? It would be, you're more than enough. Because back then, when I would, encounter men who I felt were also interested in me, but nothing came out of those relationships, I felt it very inadequate. So I have those hugot lines, right? That I would. You remember Julia Roberts in the movie My Best Friend's Wedding?
Yes,
Take
I watched
me,
that movie.
take me. And then when there was this scene between her and Cameron Diaz was like saying, why does he like you? Why not me? Because I'm Jello and you're creme brulee. Something to that effect, right? So
Mhm.
I don't know, am I Jello or maybe I'm creme brulee? So I would I would say hugot lines as an indirect way of expressing myself. You know, even to my husband, I think if I ask him right now, I don't know where he is. Is he here? No, he's not. It would be interesting for me to ask him, if I said this to you back then, how would you interpret it?
Ah,
Because if I yeah,
yes.
buti pa ang hindi friend na babae nagiging girlfriend, pero ang friend na babae friend lang for life. Parang ganon.
Okay.
Pero hindi niya alam sa akin ba yun. Hindi niya tatanungin sa akin malakaano yun. He would ask, what do you mean by that? Right?
Yes.
So I would,
So most of the time they're clueless, or maybe they're not as
oh,
sensitive as us.
they will be forever clueless. I'm telling you, even how many years of marriage, they will always be clueless. Right? So going back, I think, yeah, I would always tell myself, you're more than enough. I would also tell
Yes.
my daughter, if she experiences, you know, uh, e- events, whether romantic or failures, she cannot just say, I guess I'm inadequate. Because, you're more than enough. Maybe it's not the time, right?
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
we have the right love at the wrong time.
We had the right love at the wrong time. That's also a very nice Hugot line.
So, if we have a
Title of a
millennial
song.
listening to us, I'm so sorry. That it shows our era.
I just told my
How we did.
husband the other day that the theme song when we were probably younger was this song that my daughter and I sang, which is the Kita Kita theme song, like two less lonely people in the world.
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's who we were before, because I feel like we were against all odds. Oh, see,
Oh
that's another
yes.
title of a song. So
Yeah,
really,
against all
this
odds.
topic allows us to reminisce our past and
And be
appreciate
our
our
20-year-old
youth.
old selves.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
I like your advice to your 20-year-old self. And if I were to give advice right now, I would tell people to let it go. I mean, if you have a hugot line, or if you are really experiencing something emotional and you would like to express it in whatever form you wish, maybe through a song, through a hugot line, through just letting it all out. But if you want to cry, cry. You just have to be your authentic self. You just have to express yourself. Don't hold it in, and don't just keep it to yourself, because it's not good for your mental health, and it's not good if you just keep it within yourself and not share it,
Yeah,
at
that's
least with
so
somebody that
true.
you trust a lot, just to confide in that, whoever it is, a person, family member, friend. I don't
Yes.
know. What do you think?
I was in that stage, unfortunately. During my younger years, I would always want to please people. So, in the process of, having to please them, I lost touch of who I was really. And it's sad. It's sad. You should have your own self identity at an early age. You should know who you are. And, you should
Mhm.
not be afraid to disappoint people, because that's you. If they cannot take you as you are, then that's not the path they're supposed to take. Somewhere down the road, ito na naman, hugot line na naman. Somewhere down, somewhere down the road, there should be a meeting of the minds, because you cannot always compromise, right?
Yes,
You cannot
that's true.
always compromise. You should always be true to yourself. Yeah,
Mhm. So
that's
I
my
think
take on
that's
it.
yeah, I think that's the essence of hugot. No, you're just trying to be true to yourself, and whether or not the language is direct or indirect, or trying to be euphemistic, The important thing is that we are in touch with our feelings. So yeah, Anna, I'm really enjoying our talk. So this definitely needs a part
Same
3, a part
here.
4, a part
Ay,
5.
sure, why
In
not? In a
between,
book, ha? In a book.
in a book. We'll
It's
definitely.
the finale,
I'm
ha?
serious about that. I'm going
Oh,
to
same here. Same here.
continue working on that project with you, and we are publicly declaring it in my podcast episode. So we have to be accountable. We have
Please
to
support
follow
that,
through.
ha? We
We
will,
have
we
to
will,
follow
we
through.
will.
We have to
Yeah,
start
we
looking
will.
for Philippine publishers who will take on board that project. But we have to write it first. So anyway, Anna, I think Hugot, like what you said, is something, a concept, a mindset, a concept or a mindset, or an expression, a creative expression that Filipinos have. And because we are very creative people, I think it will really stay. It's a cultural thing. Lucky that we did have Hugot. Otherwise, there's no avenue for us to express our emotions. And we've talked about how
Right,
we
right,
can
right.
put that in different contexts. So
Mhm.
I wish to thank you again for being on my show today. I'm very, very
My
happy that
pleasure.
you're available. You shared your wisdom, you shared
Oh,
your
thank you.
insights, and your expertise in the songs of our era, in the songs of our era. And you are right. The purpose of us talking about that is to connect with the millennials and give them also a piece of our the of our time, a piece of our time, because nowadays is so different. So to the audience, I hope you guys liked our show today, and I'm with Anna, and this has become a better version of what it could have been if I discussed it on my own. That's why I always like having to interact with people. So if you have any stories or topics you wish to feature in the show, please reach out to me at my email, mimi@dinosocial.com. And thank you to Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Samut Sari is a member of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. And please do not forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and to my podcast. And Anna, our project is already in the bag. I'll see you
It
next
is.
time. Thank you for coming.
Look forward to that. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, and this is Mimi Loria saying goodbye. Anna, let's wave goodbye to our guests, to our audience for today, and we'll see you in the next
Thanks for
podcast.
listening. Bye, everyone. Thank you for having me. Bye.
If you find value in this episode, make sure you like and subscribe to be notified of new releases. If you have any questions or suggestions, please reach out to Gorilla Podcast or send us an email at mimi@dinosocial.com. Spread the word and don't forget to tune in next time.